As you travel around Dublin city centre, and indeed in some spread areas throughout our countryside, you come across the presence of blue plaques on buildings. These plaques are to indicate that these buildings are of historic significance because of the people who lived there. In some buildings, there are maybe even 2 or 3 plaques because at different times they were the home to people who were either of historic importance, literary importance, or some other importance within the story of our country's life. I would argue this morning that there is a case to be made for 2 blue plaques around the well where Jesus met with the Samaritan woman. I'll explain why. This very well was the well where Jacob stopped to water his flocks. And as he stopped there and assisted others to water their flocks, he met with Rachel. And at that moment, the future of God's people is assured, for Rachel will marry Jacob, and Jacob and Rachel will have 12 sons, and they will become the heads of the tribes of Israel, and the assurance of the continuity of God's people has been established. So this place, this well, is well known and respected. It sits at the border. We know a little bit about borders on this island. It sits at the border between Samaria and Judea. And it is a place of friction, because from time to time Jewish and Samaritan people meet at this well, and they regard one another with suspicion and sometimes hatred. Sectarianism in all its ugliness could be found at this well. So when Jesus stops at this well, in the middle of the day, now midday in Ireland is very different from midday in Palestine, everybody. Be assured. No one goes out at midday in Palestine if they have any respect for their physical well-being. Jesus is beside the well at noontime. He sends the disciples on to get food, and he rests beside the well, hoping that at some stage someone will come to draw water so that he can have something to drink. And while he's there, waiting at a time when no one else is present, a woman makes her way to the well. And she comes, and Jesus speaks to her, and her whole world is turned on its head. First of all, he's a Jewish man. Jewish men don't speak to Samaritans. Secondly, he's a man. Men and women in Jewish culture and in Middle Eastern culture were not supposed to address one another as strangers unless in the company of others. The woman draws his attention to both of these conventions, and Jesus ignores every one of them. He asks for water, and he promises her something in return. He promises her the water of life. She thinks that this is going to be the answer to all her problems. She'll never have to go back to the well again, never have to draw water again. The water of life will spring up within her. But Jesus informs her that this water is not about physical need. It is about spiritual need. It is about restoration. It is about renewal. It is about enlivening. It is about redirection. because this woman is at the well at noon, because she's assured no one else will be there. No one else will talk to her. No one else will care for her, because not only is she a Samaritan, not only is she a Samaritan woman, but her life has been a slow-speed train wreck. Morally destructive, relationally destructive. She has now begun to reap the whirlwind of her life, and no one cares. But that's not true, you see, because there is someone who cares. In spite of all the things she's done wrong, in spite of the many vows she has broken, in spite of the many relationships she has destroyed within her own life and the relationships she has destroyed in other people's lives, she is still wanted by God. And so what does Jesus say to her? He tells her that he is the Messiah, that he defines what's right and wrong. He's not there to be controlled by convention, who he can talk to and who he doesn't talk to. He's not here to be controlled by sectarianism and divisiveness. He's not here to be controlled even by what people have done in the past. He is the Messiah, and he decides. So he tells her that he offers her the water of life so that she can start again, that she can be renewed and strengthened in her life. Something really strange happens to this woman. She forgets all about the water. She leaves everything behind her. She says, I'm going. I have better things to do right now. Back to the village. And now she's going to talk to people who will not talk to her. Now she's going to talk to people who haven't actually even thought about her. She's going to become a missionary for the Word of God because she has the assurance that God is with her. And what happens? She brings the whole village out to meet Jesus. Someone who has been regarded as beyond contempt has become the very means by which God is able to move in the lives of other people. And if you don't think that's a profound thought this morning, I have to say to you, I'm going to offer you nothing better. God has the power to reconstitute, to reconcile, to renew, to forgive, and to allow us all to begin again. Wherever we've been, whatever we've done, the things we've said, the things we've left unsaid, the things that should have been better, the things that should have been right, the things that we should have got right the first time, God allows us to try again. So what we see here is really the physical playing out of the prodigal son. You know that story that Jesus tells of the son who goes away and plays around, goes to the bright lights, spends all the money, wrecks his family's life, destroys his father, and yet he can come home, and his father throws his arms around him and tells him he's glad he's back to life. Today we look on this story and we see it for what it is, a true expression of God's love in the world, lived out by Jesus himself. We are well to take it seriously, and we must never allow human constructed division to get between us and God, or to get between other people and God, because God won't have it. He makes his own conditions. He lays down his own requirements, and he will be the one who ultimately will say to us all, I am the Messiah, and I will decide. may we once more seek in our lives this renewing, restoring, enlivening, forgiving God who waits at the well with the water of life and says to us, "Come and drink."